Oh, the circus! It's in town! The election's been called! Oh! My name is Quinlan, and this is the circus called Melbourne Musos Live. And tonight, the great Hey, what are all the things we have a great debate over? Hey, first one, traditional grip or matched grip? Let me tell you about the history here. What goes on is that many, many eons ago, a millennia even, the drum, the snare drum, the field drum back in the day was a bit of a weapon of war in the sense that it sent signals across the battlefield. And because they were big, long things and all this business, they would be off to the side. So what would happen is that your snare drum, well, your field drum, your marching drum, would be off to the side and on an angle. Now, if you tried to play the field drum like this, you would be the hunchback of Drummerland. Oh! That kind of thing there. You'd be Drumbelina, Drumbelina, tiny little thing. Oh, my shoulder sings. That's being very silly, but there you go. That's why they came up with the traditional grip, you see. And that's why it's called traditional grip. My old teacher, H, he started me off on the matched grip, you see, because it's uniform, you see. And there's that. Then he said, try this. And I went, yuck. I went back to that. I tried it again. And look what happened. There you go. I use both, you see. Because what often happens is that you might be using traditional grip on the snare drum, but if you're in any kind of orchestral kind of a thing, and the winner is Elbow Sneezy or Porter. Hey, Porter.
Sit down, Buffett. You sit down.
You'd use your match grip for that. Or if you're in a heavy rockin' band, you would want to go the... There you go. There's all that for you. Now what happens is, because of that, what you have is the hand over the drumstick with matched. With matched grip, the hand is under the stick, you see. I like both, although this is now my home grip, the trad grip, but it's great to try out both. Okay. Now one thing about the traditional grip, there's no left hand, okay, because when you're actually in a marching band, and especially if it's a Scottish pipe band, they're not going to change anytime soon. Traditional, you know, the history of it all. You can't have a line of drummers. You're going to have to make a decision at some point. You can't have a line of drummers where one's got the trad, next one's got the match grip, someone's got right hand. Oh, I want my field drum here because I'm a lefty. No. It's got to be uniform all the way along. All you have to do is look at any of the great drum lines out there. You know, go and watch the Edinburgh Tattoo, and you'll see, some have the harnesses now, so that the snare drum is coming out flat in front of you. I still have the shoulder strap, so my marching drum would have a little stirrup on it for my leg, and you glide when you're doing an Anzac Day, which is coming up. But one of the things is, other things is like, do you have your snare drum flat or on an angle? Ooh, here we go again. And what happens is that one of the things that I do with the next bit, moving right along from matched or traditional, they're both fine. Okay, I tend to, you see me most of the time playing trad grip, but there have been times when I've played in bands all matched grip, more as a challenge, but because they're hard rock and band going, boof, you know, that kind of stuff, you see. But when you start getting things like, do I have a flat snare drum or a snare drum on an angle, that kind of thing, this is how I explain this one away. When you're playing, do you see that when I'm playing, I basically have a little finger distance from the rim of the drum, you see. Now you don't want a tom-tom angled so much that all of a sudden you're playing out like this. That's where all the pock marks come from, you see. So what I do when I'm angling my drum set, here's big ass star and all that, and notice that here with my piccolos, the further up they go, the more of an angle. They're like an arc. Arc, you see? Arc. There it is. And what happens then is that for me, what starts to happen is that if I've got a snare drum with the little finger distance, I'll set up my tom-tom so that when I lift my arm up to play a tom, same little finger distance, right? Do. I've got a patch here for you. Circus in town. Hey! I'll take him out. Bit of a carnival atmosphere here. So what it is, that's what we do. So when you're actually playing up, Bill Bruford is famous with his with the big Yes reunion tour in the early 90s, where he played mostly percussion, and Alan White was on drums. There's pictures out there, and he basically spent the whole tour like a whole rack of Simmons pads, you see. And as they went up in an arc. You see, okay, sort of stuff. So it's like that. So by the time he was playing up here, he had the same angle, except to have that angle, the drum head would be almost vertical, like that, you see. I'll put it up there. I'll find a pic for you. That's the big question. There you go. What angles? There you go. Now what happens is the other thing, I shall now go down to boot camp. Hello. And what it is, are you a heel down or a heel up player? Do you get microphones that crack out all the time? Bloody hell. All right, there it is. So when I talk about heels down and heel up, what I tend to talk about a lot is gears on a car. If I'm playing like that, oh, that's why I had these in. There it is. That. When I was doing that, I was doing the good old 4 on the floor, hi-hat 2 and 4, heels down. 3. There you have it, you see. And that's what goes on, that's heels down. But as I pick up the speed, or if I'm playing, actually I won't finish with that. I haven't finished with that. What it is if I'm playing lightly, look down at boot camp, heels down. But as soon as I put in the double tap, the heel comes up a little bit. Okay. Now what happens there is that when I'm lifting up, I'm a little bit of a shallow heel up player. I don't lift up too much, but one of my favourite drummers is Simon Phillips. I love him. However, when he's playing, he's a little bit tippy toes, like a ballerina kind of stuff. Up, 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 up. Like that, which is terrific, no problem. Everyone's got their little thing. Now, that's basically the big thing. Whenever I read a magazine article and the interviewer says, "Are you a heel down or a heel up?" Well, just have a bloody look, mate. There's plenty of videos about. But I generally tend to do a face palm because most people, whether they know it or not, are sort of like both. Because what happens is one of the things with my poppets when I'm teaching, I say start off with heels down because basically you want balance on the drum kit. Okay. The first thing I see is when the hi-hat starts to get used for open hi-hat, and the student would lift up his or her left leg, and next thing you can see them trying to balance themselves, that kind of thing. And basically I sort of say, well, look, you're a tripod. You got your right leg, your left leg, and your and thanks very much. God, I'm doing my own boom tissues here. Oh my Lord. So anyway, what goes on is that you just lift up, you see. So when you're starting to do open hi-hat, that kind of stuff there. You keep your heels down and your foot, the ball of your foot. There you go. There we are. There it is. There's another one for you. Heels down or heels up. A wrist or fingers. They're both connected. Vipping, vipping, vipping. How many times I say you vip, 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 vip. I'll take them out for a little bit and talk a little bit about vipping and what happens. I have talked about it before, but we are in the...
This is the great debate.
Ooh!
Sit down, Buffett. You sit down.
No worries. Are you going to do fingers? Finger control. You can't call it wrist control because the wrists aren't moving. But if you're doing this, that is wrist control, because basically, if you have a look, if I'm just doing that as a stroke, my wrist is moving, but my fingers are not. They're just using to hold the stick, you see. That's what goes on. We need both, because what happens is that if you are going to do live from New York, proudly sponsored by Colgate toothpaste, that is finger control for a beautiful, long, even roll. And the winner is, there it is. Beautiful. That is the land of Billy Gladstone. Billy Gladstone, is, by all accounts, a lot of people call it the Gladstone technique, but he's attributed to it. He never said he invented it, never, ever, ever once, but he was just the master of it. A beautiful, by all accounts, he's kind of like the guy, Radio City Music Hall. He was when radio was king, he held down that gig for something like 30 years. And the smoothest press roll you would ever see or hear. And it would just be... and the aforementioned finger. And then you would have Sanford molar. And bipping, bipping, bip. So you have a downstroke, up, down, up. You actually play as you're coming up. Once again, I get very wary of people who say, oh, I only use my fingers. Oh, I only use my wrists and all that sort of stuff. I've heard it, especially sometimes when it comes down to people like Buddy Rich and stuff. Oh, I use a wrist player. You sure about that, H? You know, that kind of thing. Because I'd see the whole package, even early on. I've been talking over the last few weeks about the humble right, left, left. And the paradiddle diddle, right, left, right, left, left, right, left, right, left, left. When you get the paradiddle diddle up and running, a lot of people call that the push-pull, because you can see me pushing in for the vipping and then pull up. Rolling, rolling, rolling. Move them up, move them in, move them. Oh, roar hard. Sorry, I fell into that. So when you're starting to... one of the things is when you're going into kind of a snare drum type of solo, flicking, vipping, vipping. Get it? Got it? So what goes on? You use the whole lot. It's a blend. I did this 2 weeks ago. I love my continuity. Here we go again. Wrist control is there. Finger control is up here. Pretty much everything we do is somewhere in the middle. Do you get it? Got it? I did that already. So what we have is that. So, let me recap a little bit here. What happens is I've been talking about traditional, matched, both are fine, horses for courses, all of that business. Next thing, heel down, heel up. What are we going to do there? Oi! Sort of thing. Once again, horses for courses. You see, one of the things that can happen with all of this is that you can use both of them at the same time, even though you're saying to yourself, oh, I just use finger control, or I just use wrist control. Because what starts to happen is that you end up doing both. Because if I'm doing this, that's fingers, but if I'm going to go to toms, bip, 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 bip. You see, that's just there. Bit of thumb control. Drumbalina, drumbalina, tiny little thing. Oh, I'm going loopy. So you can use both without knowing it. You'd be whipping, 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 but the other one is finger, 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 finger. Why did that come out sleazy? Elbow sleaze. Elbow. I want Marley over there to meet up with Toto. I haven't seen Toto. I'm sure we're going to see Toto Albanese on the election trail. if not already. I'm doing this on the day the election's been called, but it won't come up until probably the first great debate. Ooh,
This is the
great debate.
This is the great debate. This is the great debate. This is the great debate. This is the great debate. This is the great debate. This is the
Oh, there's
great
another one for you.
debate.
Does the metronome kill your soul? No. It keeps you accurate. It keeps you in time. There is nothing wrong with a metro-gnome going... there's a lot of things. I remember filming a David Jones clinic. If you're out there, David, I haven't seen you for a long time, but that's what it is. But I was in the days when I was sending myself bankrupt, going around town filming people. He started talking about session tricks, studio tricks, like the chorus. Let's say a song is at 100 beats a minute, and then the chorus needs a little bit of a pickup, and they actually make the chorus 102. And everyone goes, whoa, if they haven't done it. And it's one of those things that often happens, just to give the song a bit of a kick. When you're listening to some of the classic live albums, you can hear the tempo picking up. I mean, we're talking about wonderful bands. Like, two of my favourite live albums is Who Live at Leeds. I'm like a fat man crying at the opera about that, with that album. I love that album. And Deep Purple's Made in Japan. Ooh, Ian Pace. Oh, my Lord. And what happens is that you can just hear it, you know, that kind of thing. Sabbath. I mean, you'd hear things like Sabotage album. Dun 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 dun, boom, ba-da-da, Symptom of the Universe, and all that. But then Live at Last, bang! Oh, how much quicker was it? But oh my Lord, you know, fantastic stuff. And so metronomic time is often, you know, people see the metronome as the big whatever, but when I actually do that...
This is the great debate. 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 This is the great debate.
Sit down, Buffett. You sit there.
Ah, dear me. I suppose I should get a wriggle on. I think I'd better. I've finished up already. So there you go. They are segments of the great debate. Everything that we talk about. Oh! My name is Quinlan. Melbourne Musos live. Oh! Oh! Blah 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 blah. Oh, blah blah. Blah 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 blah. Blah blah. Blah blah blee blah 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 blah. Blah.
Sit down, Buffett. You sit down.
I'll have this up for you very shortly. Oh!
You sit down. Sit down, Buffett. You sit down.
Now for a nice glass of...
You sit down. Sit down, Buffett. You sit down. Sit down, Buffett. You sit down. Sit down, Buffett. You sit down.
Blah 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 blah. Blah 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 blah. Blee blah 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 blah. Blah.